Well, I'm just back in my office here in Washington, D.C. after having the privilege of once again attending a State of the Union address. This, the State of the Union for 2012 by President Obama. As usual, he did a good job of giving a speech. He's very good with the rhetoric. He's a likable person. I like him very much. But his policies and his articulation of what the facts are somewhat inconsistent with either the policies that I believe that we ought to follow or what I see in our district back home. The president described an economy that's going gangbusters, creating jobs, on the right path. This is what we have to do, just double down. That's not what I see back home. I don't think that's what's happening back home. That's not what I'm hearing from those of you back home in my district. And frankly, it doesn't comport with what the national statistics show. We are still at the highest sustained level of unemployment, and I mean for well over 36 months, that we've seen in this country since the Great Depression. And maybe, just maybe, we ought to take a new look at the policies we're following. Instead, the president says we ought to double down on what he's doing. So that was disappointing to me. Another thing that was disappointing is that the big elephant in the room, of course, is the size of the deficit. How can we sustain our economy? How can we go forward with our children, our grandchildren, and their futures with the kind of deficits we see on an annual basis, adding to this tremendous national debt? The president had, by my count, about 21 different points that he made. I mean, as I was going through, I was taking notes, and I made 21 separate points of interest that he presented. It wasn't until number 17 that he got around to the deficit, and then he didn't give us a substantive way of how we're going to attack it. Look, this is a period of time that is, I don't know if it's unprecedented, but it's pretty close to it in terms of fear and anger by the average American. Fear because of the state of the economy, and anger because in many ways a lot of Americans don't feel they're getting a fair shake. And so if you're going to deal with the problem overall, try and get the economy moving and understand the negative impact that is being felt on the economy by government's inaction or inappropriate action, resulting in this huge deficit, and the impact it has, therefore, on stopping our jobs, you've got to level with the American people. If we're going to work together to try and solve the problem, you got to at least have the facts. So I thought the president missed a real opportunity to put a somewhat of a courageous statement out there about how serious the issues are. I mean, combined with the hope or the confidence that we can deal with it, but at least you've got to be honest with the American people about the state of the economy. I didn't see that. The other thing that both attracted me and upset me was the president's beginning of his speech with an ode to the military, which I think is very appropriate because I think most Americans, huge majority of Americans, believe that the military is the one part of the federal government that does work pretty well. And then he had another ode, more than a nod, a long statement and narrative about the military to end his speech, and he mentioned the military in the middle. I think those are all positives. The problem is the only major part of our budget to get a whack, to get a severe whack, to get a tremendous cut in the budgets that he has projected for the next few years is our military. So you combine those two things with the fact that the president suggested that we have all these responsibilities around the world and that we're going to be able to deal with them on a national defense basis or a military basis, and it doesn't seem to add up. So again, I think the president missed an opportunity for us to face the future with the facts and deal with it with true confidence. Let me just add a couple things. Two areas where I agree with the president. His suggestion that we need to have as career training or retraining programs the community colleges of America. I don't know what the details of his suggested program are, but I believe that that thrust is absolutely appropriate. In fact, I've been working on those kinds of things for a number of years. And secondly, just a passing reference to a legislative proposal he sent up to the Hill, which dealt with our response to the cybersecurity threat. It's an area that I've been working on. Today I was meeting with several members of his administration on that. I applaud him for that. Rather than creating a new program or derisively referring to the previous administration. He's actually built on what the previous administration done, brought it forward, advanced it, and we are working together on that. It doesn't get you a whole lot of political points, but I will tell you this. It's as important to the future of America as just about anything else out there. So I applaud the President for that. I'm sorry that the response by the assembled House and Senate was not stronger. Hopefully it was because people were just tired at that point.